I've got some shipping to send out today, and I thought it was a perfect chance to do another chatty work with me on a topic I'm passionate about, which is the worst reselling advice I've received. But I also polled my Instagram story crowd for some of the worst reselling advice they've received as well. So I'll talk about mine and then I'll cover all of theirs as well. I'm going to put a timer on the screen in case you want to work with me. So let's count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go. So I have an assortment of stuff that I need to wipe down, lint roll, and package up so I can ship them off today. And so the topic, why is this a hot button topic? I think I'm passionate about this topic because I feel like there's not just one way to resell. And I really just dislike that there are a number of people in the reselling space that are committed to saying things like you have to do this or you shouldn't do this. And I think that there's a disservice to that because something might work for me that may not work for you and vice versa. And so while I think there is some great reselling advice out there, the number one thing for me that every time I hear it, I just cringe is that you should list every day. And I have a personal reason for this. So I heard this a lot from some early on reselling friends. I'm no longer friends with them, but they seemed to know what they were talking about. They had been reselling longer than me, and they seemed to give me the impression that no matter what, just especially with eBay, that you have to list every day to keep the algorithm happy. And I was a slave to that for years. And while that may while there may be some truth that it can help your sales if you list every day or every morning and every night of every day, that to me is a way to burn out and not be a successful reseller for the long haul. To me, reselling in my life is a marathon, not a sprint. And I need to I have tried to build a business that I can do for a while because I like it. And if I never get time off and never get a break and can take a break at any point, to me, that defeats the purpose of reselling. So the reason this one is my top worst advice is I think it's a bigger thing. It's not just about this one piece of advice. Rather, it is just understanding that you should build a business that you can sustain and that works with your lifestyle and your goals. And when someone says you have to do something every single day, to me, that's not what I want. And even if that could possibly, even though I've never been given any proof that this is reality, this is true, but even if it could give me more money by keeping an algorithm that people talk about happy, to me, that would just make me unhappy over the long run. And then it would make me unhappy with reselling, and then I would quit, and it just defeats the purpose. So an example of this that my mom was recently talking about, we were talking about our morning walks. So I walk my dog Luna during the morning, not every morning, but many. And my mom has started walking. And a lot of people out there in the health space will say it's best to work out in the morning. Well, if you can't work out in the morning and someone tells you that you should only work out in the morning, then you might sit there in the evening sometime and say, well, it's not as good if I walk in the morning or in the evening, so I'm just not going to walk at all today. If you figure out when you will walk, even if it is better in the morning or whatever people say, if you walk every evening or maybe 3 evenings a week, that is better than not walking at all. And I think that it's kind of the same with reselling or listing specifically. If you can list 70 items in a week, and let's say you list 5 days out of the week, that to me is better than only listing 50 items because you're only listing 10 items per day. And you're sitting there going, okay, well, I can't list every day because I'm out of town or I have a social life or I've got kids or I've got family obligations or whatever the case may be. So I'm not going to increase my listing on days that I can list to compensate for the days that I can't list because someone told me that I should be consistent, or, oh man, I'm missing out on all these sales because I'm not listing consistently. I mean, some of the most successful resellers I know don't actually list every day. And they just list good quality stuff. And they are consistent in their weekly and monthly numbers, but they're not worried or not a slave to listing every single day. There were 2 people on Instagram that also put this one, so I know I'm not the only one. If you can list every day, I'm not gonna lie, that might be best for your business, but I also don't think, at least for me and my lifestyle, I don't wanna work every day. And I didn't become a reseller to work every day. And so that's not the business that I am here to build. And so to me, that one is just important to know. Yeah, I do try to list consistently throughout the week. And I typically list about 4 to 5 days out of the week, depending on if I'm maybe camping that weekend for 3 days. I'm not listing when I'm camping, and that's okay. That's the business I'm building. That is the life I want. And I still have decent sales. So anyways, that's my number one. Let's jump into some of the ones that people from Instagram shared with me. And honestly, I was kind of blown away by some of these pieces of terrible advice because there are some shocking ones. So I don't have them in any particular order, and I'm not saying who shared what, but also I'm stuffing, so this probably is making noise, which I'm sure is great for the video. So the first one is you have to do exactly what the other person is doing. I'm going to sit, hopefully still in the frame. So this one I talk about a lot, or I've mentioned a lot of, and I said it at the beginning of this video, there's not one way to resell. There's not one type of reselling business to be successful. While there might be things that could make you $500 more a month if you do them, if you can't sustain that over the long haul, or if it doesn't work with your life, then what's the point? So I think that, one of the things I noticed before I was on YouTube and since I've been on YouTube is people will say things like, I'll get to a lot of them, but let's just throw something up of like, you should never sell an item, or you should never pick up an item that you can't get a certain dollar amount for. That's not worth your time. Source smarter, not harder. Is that the right thing? And so they'll make these blanket statements, and you sit there and you listen to it and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I shouldn't list these items because they won't sell for X amount of dollars. And so it's not worth my time. So I'm just going to donate them, or I'm just going to give them away, or I'm just going to ignore them, whatever the case may be. When in reality, it's like, while that might work for someone else, it won't work for me. I've expressed this many times. I can't thrift that often. I don't live near thrift stores. So that advice that someone's giving that says you shouldn't sell something for $10 or a $10 profit, well, if I sell, 5 items a day that are only $10 profit, that's $50 a day of stuff that maybe I wouldn't have listed because I listened to that advice. And $50 a day is quite a bit when you add it up at the end of the month. So I think the blanket statements are definitely some of the worst advice I've heard. Any person that I follow will have caveats of, or disclosures of saying like, this works for me, but it may be different for you. And those are the people sometimes that I trust the most, is when they're able to say like, it's not a one size fits all type of thing in reselling. So that's the first one. The second one, you've got to keep following, sharing other people's listings for the Posh algorithm. So this kind of goes into any algorithm. This person's referring to Poshmark, but I can't tell you how many people in the early days of me on Poshmark would say these crazy things like, I figured out the algorithm of Poshmark, and there was like some like 5 out of 5 for 5 kind of, I can't remember, 10 for 10, where you like did something for 10 minutes every day, and that was supposed to make you more successful on Poshmark. And it was this crazy like formula of like, you have to share X amount of other people's items, then you have to, go leave X amount of comments. And it was like this whole drawn out thing that someone created, and it's just out of their head. Now, again, if someone can prove to me that they have an email in writing from some higher up person at eBay, Poshmark, one of the platforms that says, this is what we recommend to increase your sales, I'll believe it when I see it. But I actually had a no longer friend, someone that I met at eBay Open, and they were telling me, I've talked to some people at eBay this weekend, and this is what they told me. And it's just, I know the right people. And they were just very determined to make me believe that like, this was fact. this was facts. This was factual. I don't know how to say it. And so I was sitting there going, well, I mean, I've got to trust her. I mean, she talked to people at eBay, but I never saw any evidence of that. And maybe it was hush hush. And I'm not saying there aren't things that you can do that might help the impressions, you know, on eBay or people seeing your items, like sharing. We know sharing brings your item to the top when they're not messing with the algorithm on Poshmark. So of course it's like, well, if you share your items more, yeah, it will be at the top more and more people will hopefully see it. That's just kind of common sense of how that platform is built. But it kind of goes back to just because that may increase your impressions or people seeing your items doesn't mean that's sustainable for the long run and that it's best for you and your business, if that makes sense. So yeah, I don't follow anyone on anyone that I followed was in my first year on Poshmark. And that was just because I thought that I needed to follow people because, you know, I was listening to some person on YouTube making these statements. And sharing other people's listings, I don't do community shares. I share my own items and that's really important, but do what's right for you. It's not a one size fits all. Another person said that their advice was sell only high-end items. I know I've talked about this before, but if you want to build a business where you go thrift 5 days out of the week and you spend 8 hours at the thrift stores each day, or even 4 hours each day at the thrift store, and you're only looking for 10 items, or let's say like 3 items a day that will sell for $100 a pop, and that's the business you want to build, great. That's not what I want to build. That's not reselling. That's not fun for me. I also don't ever buy anything for me that's $100, rarely. So for me, I buy a lot of affordable items and I like a good deal, and I want to build a business that caters to that for other people as well. Kind of like what I only sell on platforms that I want to shop on. Kind of the same thing. I wouldn't want to sell a bunch of high-end items when I never buy high-end items for myself, and I wouldn't drop that money for myself. So if someone wants to do that, that's okay. You can absolutely do that, and that's not a bad business model, but it's not the only business model. And in fact, a lot of people like me do like selling. Like my average cost or my average sales price is, you know, $25 to $30 per item. The good months where I'm sourcing more regularly, like today as opposed to 3 months ago, I'm more in that $30 average sale price. When I have to source less because of COVID shutdowns or because I can't thrift as much because of my dog's daycare or whatever, my average sale price might be lower because I'm taking free inventory and I'm selling I'm listing lower dollar items, but I'm still selling stuff. So I think and you could always flip. Like maybe you did something at one point, you were a bin shopper and your average sale price was $20 and you were happy. Then maybe you wanted to switch and you wanted to thrift more. That's totally fine too, but there's not, again, I feel like I'm going to repeat this. It's not a one size fits all model. And also I think I'm more in the like mix. I like every thrift trip to have some bread and butter and a couple high-end items. And that's where I really focus on my average sales price, my ASP, as opposed to what item really is worth individually. So another person said, not spend over a certain amount per item. So yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about that, you know, either two extremes. They want to pay up for things, like they would rather pay $50 for something that's going to sell for $300 and they want to invest that. And they think that's the model for them. Or the people who only shop at the bins and they never want to pay more than $1 or $2 or $3 per item. And I think it's a miss. You know, if you yourself are only comfortable with selling, you know, I feel like I need to move this stuff because I'll move it out of the way over here. If you yourself feel most comfortable only investing $1 or $2 in each item and you just want that bins life and that makes you happy, that's fine. But if you were, let's say at a yard sale or something, just out of the blue, and someone, you know, you saw some like high-end designer or, you know, brand that you've sold before and you're very familiar with, and they're asking $20, you're just not going to pick it up because it's not $1 or $2. I think it is a bad advice. I think just, you know, if you can't invest more than anything, you know, $1 or $2 per item, then so be it. But if you're going to pass up on something because it's not $1 or $2, that's also a bad strategy for a lot of us. But I also personally, I rarely spend more than $20 on any item. I don't do wholesale. I don't do retail arbitrage. it's not what I enjoy about reselling. It's not to say other people doing it is bad. It's just, that's not the reselling I like. That's not the thrill of the hunt that I like. So for me, again, not a one size fits all kind of strategy. Just a quick pause for the sponsor of today's video, which I'm so excited to take again. It is Care Of. And Care Of is, if you don't know what it is a subscription service that ships high quality, personalized vitamins, supplements, and powders conveniently to your door every month. And I actually used to use this for a couple years when I lived in San Francisco. The only reason I stopped using this service was because I left San Francisco and it was a transitional period in my life and I wasn't quite clear on where I was going, what job I was going to be doing. And so I did take a pause. And when they reached out, it reminded me, oh my gosh, I love taking this. This was the only time in my life where I really felt like I was doing a lot for myself and taking vitamins on a consistent basis. So basically, when you go to the website or on the website on your phone or on your computer, you take a short in-depth quiz about your lifestyle, your health goals for a personalized recommendation. Basically, this just takes the guesswork out of what supplements are best suited for you. And for me, it was a lot of the vitamins that I was taking before, but one of the recent additions, taking the quiz this time as opposed to a few years ago, was there was a supplement called, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's RHODIOLA. I'll be sure to write it on the screen. And this was basically recommended to me because I was saying I wanted some more energy and I also had some stress in life. And this, one of the great things about Care Of is on their website, they will share a lot of information about the vitamins and supplements they're recommending for you. And in this case, they actually share a lot of information about the studies done in the past on this specific supplement, which really makes me feel like I'm taking something that has some research behind it, which makes me feel great. Another thing I love about the Care Of supplement packets is they're actually compostable. So they are made out of a plant-based compostable film, so you can stress less about the impact that you have on the planet. For 50% off your first Care Of order, be sure to go to takecareof.com and enter the code COMMONTAGS50. I will also leave a link down below in case that's easier for you. Again, for 50% off your first Care Of order, you can go to takecareof.com and enter the code COMMONTAGS50 to get that discount. Care Of, thank you so much for sponsoring today's video and for supporting this channel. I am so excited. I'm taking your vitamins again and just overall really working on a healthier lifestyle for myself and feeling good. So on that note, let's get back to the Chatty work with me and all those advice pieces I got from Instagram. All right, don't include measurements. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you. When I saw someone say this in a video that they were saving time on every listing by not including measurements is one of the things, I just about lost it internally. Because I sit here and I've talked about this before, you don't have to include measurements. Again, like I'm not here to tell you what you should or shouldn't do. But for me, if I include measurements and I spend that less than minute per item while I'm photographing upstairs, to take those measurements, like it's 2 or 3 measurements max, I'm like awkwardly hoping to sit again, but not. So I think that some people think they're saving time if they don't add measurements, but then what happens when someone asks you for measurements? Then for me, I would have to go to my spreadsheet, find the item on my spreadsheet, go out to my storage shed, pull the item, measure it, put it back into inventory, make sure that I look up where it's supposed to go again because I have no memory. And all of that time is like 5 to 10 minutes just for one item. Whereas per item, I can just add it while I'm taking photos. And I just use a whiteboard and I erase it super quick. I am a shopper that I will not buy things without measurements. And if I find a listing and it's something like I buy a lot of certain type of yoga leggings, and every time, no, yoga leggings, that's the difference. I own these exact leggings and I know exactly the size and the fit, and leggings are a little bit, but let's say it's a dress and I'm worried about the armpit to armpit for chest, and let's say I'm worried about the waist to make sure that would fit. I'll just pass over it. I won't even message them to ask for measurements because I know there's a 50-50 chance I won't get a response and it's just a waste of time. So I personally think there are people that just won't even ask you. And the people that do ask you, you're spending quite a bit of time if you go get those measurements. So I think this is 100% some of the worst advice I've ever heard in reselling. But I also, if you don't want to add measurements, it's on you. Just, it's not necessarily saving time, in my opinion, my humble opinion. And maybe you don't mind. Maybe you only have, here's the difference. If you have 2 bins in your closet and you've got an inventory of 50 items, going and grabbing that stuff probably isn't that big of a deal. But for me, with 1,500 items, that's a big deal. It's time consuming. And then they ask for the measurements and then they may not even buy the item. So yeah, that was a good one. Let's see. Buying reseller courses to be successful. There's 2 ways I will guarantee unfollow someone. If they say they're a 6-figure seller, I don't care if you're a 6-figure seller, and more than likely that doesn't mean what people think it means. And I don't know, it gives me the creeps of like, yeah. The other thing is when someone sells a course. I've unfollowed many people on YouTube and Instagram because they start selling courses. And it's unfortunate because I think one of my friends, Tommy, who used to be on YouTube and hasn't been in a while, he posted something the other day that if someone learned everything about reselling for free and then they flip and sell some course and sell it to you to make money off of that free information that they got, it does feel very scammy. And while I know there are some people that are like, oh, it was really helpful, Amazon's probably the only exception that I've heard people are like, no one talks about the details of Amazon, so it is helpful to buy a course, but I'm not talking about Amazon here. I'm talking about Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, YouTube. A YouTube course, like as someone who's been on YouTube, it's trial and error, and it's also figuring out what works for you. Like following someone else's footsteps is probably not the best thing for YouTube, or paying someone for something where basically they're just giving people shout outs. Like, so I honestly, it's disappointing when I see people do courses because they may not spend that much time on it. And it is just, the biggest thing for me is they know that the majority of people getting that course are not going to be successful. They know that deep down. And they also know that the information that they got themselves was all for free and that other people could get it for free too. So for me, it does feel like a money grab. And I just don't have respect for it because this isn't an industry where it's hush hush. We all share a lot of stuff on here for free. There's no need to pay for a course. If you want to pay for a course and you want the attention of someone, like maybe it's an ongoing thing, so be it. But I unfollow people for it. That's just me. Because it does feel very, a money grab. Anything that sells is worth your time. It's how resellers burn out quickly. So this is yes and no for me. Yes, if you're going to be listing a whole bunch of $5 items on Poshmark and the fee on items, maybe you list it for $8 or $10 and they're only going to sell for $5 and the Poshmark fee for anything under 15 is what, $2.95 or something, and you only make $1 or $2 per item, that's going to be hard. And maybe you paid $1 per item at the bins. That's going to be hard to make a lot of profit, and it is quite a bit of work. But I also think that if you sell some items for $10, but you also sell things for $100, it doesn't make those $10 profit items worthless. If you're efficient with your time, your productivity on taking photos and, getting stuff done, if you've timed yourself and you're efficient with it, or maybe they're super easy items to photograph and put into inventory, then $10 is not a bad profit. What's a bad profit is, kind of dependent on you and what you're paying and the time you're spending. But, recently I've been trying to time myself so I know what I'm making, but I also focus on that average. So I have a $25 to $30 average sale price. When I remove my average cost of goods and the fees, it's $15 to $20 per item. That's not bad because I have figured out my efficiency. And also, even if it's like you sell one $20 item on average per day, so that's 30 items. Maybe you're part-time and you sell 30 items that are going to profit you net after fees and cost of goods, etc. Maybe it's only $10 a day, but that's $300 a month. That could be someone's car payment. That could be someone's savings for a vacation once a year. And at the end of the year, they have a few $1,000s just by selling one item per day of $10 profit. So I think this is like a blanket statement that there is some truth. I don't think $1 to $2 profit per item is going to work for me. and how much time it takes for me to process things. But I also think there is not a set number. And I don't think anyone should make you feel bad if you want to sell items that only profit you $10 a piece. Because if that works for you, then I'm sure you're doing well. And there are a couple eBay sellers that I know that just churn things out, and they're not burnt out. They've been doing this for 10 years. What burns me out is feeling like I never have time off because my work is always dragging. So for me, having structure and having like work schedules for reselling a couple days a week allows me to do other things like have time off, work on YouTube, work on real estate. And having that is helpful for me. But some people might think that they would burn out with my schedule. So again, I think it's not a one size fits all. But I do think keeping track of stuff and trying to figure out, is that worth your time? It's dependent on you, and it's helpful to figure that out. All right, next one, that you need to make a minimum of a $20 profit on every item you sell. So this goes back to the beginning. I think I talked about this at the beginning. Am I still filming? I get so nervous when... this goes into exactly what I was just saying. Is $20 profit good for me per item? Yeah. And that's kind of what I average right now. And when I have figured out my processing from start to finish, from thrifting to shipping, that whole processing, it's about 3 items per hour. $20 profit per item, that's $60 profit per hour. That's not bad if I'm efficient with my time. And so, but I also, sometimes I've got a $40 profit item, and sometimes I have that $10 profit item, or something that's been sitting for 4 years and I let it go for $5 profit per item. It still is part of that average cost or average sale price. And for me, it's focusing on that average, not each individual item. And not everyone can find a whole bunch of items easily for $20 profit. So yeah. All right, what's the next one that someone said? I love this one because I remember this clearly when I was new on eBay. Always provide free shipping for first-class items. People expect it. When I first started eBay, I did free shipping. I lost money on those first few items. A, because I didn't know how to ship, and that's fine. That's how you learn. But B, no, I've charged for shipping on all my items on eBay, and it's not a big deal. Like, are there some people that want it and maybe don't buy my item? Sure. I'm not going to say that there aren't people that are going to buy someone else's item because they're manipulated and thinking like they can't just do the math of, okay, if you want free shipping, then just send an offer that figures that out. There might be people that don't buy my items because of that, but I still sell things left and right on eBay, and I charge shipping. Again, if you want to do free shipping, do free shipping. If you want to try it and you don't like it, change your course. That's totally fine. But just because someone says you have to do that, unfollow them. Because it's just not true. People don't expect it. eBay is a different platform. It's not Amazon. Even Amazon, I no longer pay for Prime, and some sellers have free shipping even if you don't have Prime, and some don't. I just look at it. I look at that. I calculate that into if I'm going to buy something. There are not all buyers are, like some buyers are smart and they look at this stuff and they know how to do math easily. So yeah, it's basic addition and subtraction. And so again, there are some people that love free shipping. The reason I don't do free shipping, in case you're curious, not that anyone asked, is if you do have a return, and I do have returns turned on if the buyer wants to pay the return shipping, so I don't lose any money on them returning it. If they want to do that, then I would, if I had free shipping on the item, I would have to refund them that shipping amount because it would be part of the purchase price. And so I would actually lose out on the original shipping. So that's one of the reasons I don't do it. There are a few other reasons, but mainly it's that. Now I can look at an item like this and I can sit here and say, okay, this based off of the weight and shipping 1,000,000 times and weighing 1,000,000 items, I know that this is going to run me about $4.50 to ship most of the US. And so I just do an average. I don't weigh each item before I put it in inventory. I just put an average, like not an average, but just like put an estimate of what I think it's going to cost. So when I list this, I put flat shipping, $4.50. Maybe this one's going to be $4.25 if they're closer to me. And maybe the next item I'm going to be a little under with my estimate, but it all kind of averages out. And you can weigh every item, especially if you're not familiar with the weights and shipping. But But yeah, it's do what you want to do, and maybe just try both and see what works for you. All right, next one, two people said, or one person said that you should buy from X company. They said Jomar, another person said Cozy Threads. I think that's actually the same company. They just changed course, or some person spun off and created another one. I don't know the details. I don't follow them. Now, I did do a Cozy Threads box a couple months ago. It was terrible. I don't recommend it. I never tried Jomar. I wasn't interested, but I also don't like wholesale, so that's why they don't interest me. But yeah, I don't like them. I did try a wholesale company at the beginning of I can't remember what they were called. I feel like they all change names pretty often, but a lot of people were liking them. I didn't have that best of experience, and it was high cost of goods. Plus, I just like leaving my house one day a week to go thrifting if I can. So yeah, I don't think you have to do anything. And there are plenty of really great resellers that never buy those boxes. If you like a mystery box, go for it. Just know that there's risk with those, and you don't have to do them to be a reseller. Like, that's, yeah. All right, next up. You can't make it full-time being a reseller unless you're on YouTube. 100% false. Most people I met at eBay Open that were making really great money have no YouTube channel, aren't even on Instagram. YouTube is such a waste of time for most people, unless you get to a place where it's actually compensating you quite a bit of money for those videos. It either has to be for fun, or it's a huge time investment for possibly making some money later down the road. We have such a niche community here. So it's not like most of the channels in reselling aren't huge channels in comparison to other people in the YouTube space. So, for me, when I include ad revenue and sponsorships and some affiliate money, I'm somewhere between $3,500 and $5,000 a month. But it took me 4 years to get here, and I have friends who have been on YouTube for 4 years, and they're making $100 a month. And is it fair? No, it's not. I don't understand it. But it just because you might think that you have an audience, and you might see that like someone like me might sell something to some subscribers, doesn't mean that time that I'm spending isn't taking me away from making money with reselling or something else. Maybe you go and get a job as a waitress or a bartender. You more than likely will make a whole lot more doing that than on YouTube. And it's just the sad reality of YouTube, in my opinion, because I think there's so many people that they want to make YouTube content. And I think in the reselling space, it's because that's how we all learned. We learned probably by watching YouTube channels like this. And so you have that like, okay, I feel like I had things figured out. I want to share mine. But if you're doing it for money or being a more successful reseller, I 100% disagree. And some people could say like, well, with Whatnot, that's different. I did do a video on Whatnot. I'm sure you guys have watched it, but it was a Chatty work with me. And I know there's some YouTubers that have a larger following of people that are buying stuff from them on Whatnot, and they're doing fairly well. I shared in that video why I don't agree with that, why I'm not going to do it. But in that situation, that could maybe make you more money. But it's not free time. You still have to ship all those items. You still have to do the little Whatnot show things. And so, yeah, if I could go back in time, I've said this multiple times, I would never have done YouTube because it's a risk and a lot of time. And while I'm doing okay with it right now, a year ago, I was making significantly less, and there just is no guarantee. So, and it all could fall tomorrow. I talk about this with a couple of my YouTube friends that like YouTube could end for me tomorrow. Like people could just stop clicking on it, and then that money is no longer there. So I personally am trying not to be dependent on YouTube because it is not a guarantee. It's so risky. But you can 100%. Most successful resellers on all these platforms are not on YouTube. And you just don't know about them because you don't see them because they're not on YouTube. All right, what's up? What's next? I don't know why I said what's up to you, but here we are. That was probably loud for you. so someone doubting you or someone giving you advice, I'm guessing this is more like from your regular life and not from resellers, but that you will never make enough money to replace your income. With reselling, it never replaced my income. And I will be 100% transparent about that. I have multiple revenue streams because I don't want to resell 60 hours a week. And I don't. I have other revenue streams so that I don't get burnt out on this. But I do know people who replace their income with reselling alone. And I think it's 100% possible. It just takes time. I think that's the hard thing is so many, sorry, we're going to throw things over there. So many people kind of want an instant gratification or instant results. Like overnight, you want to go from making nothing to I'm making $5,000 a month and I can quit my part-time job or whatever. That usually with reselling is not going to happen for a while. And you have to build up your inventory and probably make mistakes and lose some money in some places. So I think if you're willing to put in the work, especially for a good like 6 months to a year. I don't remember when I would say it probably took me a year to get to a place where I was like able to pay my bills comfortably. But again, that wasn't just reselling. But yeah, I absolutely disagree with that. I think you can replace your income, but it also depends on your income. I was doing quite well with my career. And so that income is very hard to replace. But if you were coming from a job that you were making $40,000 a year, maybe you were I don't know, working a minimum wage job and, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. And you start reselling, it's not going to take long to replace that income. But I do think it depends on where you're coming from. So let's see. What is next? I turned off my fan, so it's not noisy. It's breezy outside, so I don't know if you can hear that, but all the trees are kind of loud right now. Here's one that I think is bad advice, but I also think you can do whatever you're comfortable with. So this person said their advice that they got that was bad was don't decline offers. I can't tell you how many times I hear people still to this day, even some of my friends, my reseller friends, will say, don't ever decline offers, always counter. No one has given me any proof from eBay, Poshmark, any of these platforms that there's facts that will do harm to your account. And I understand what people are saying. Like some people say, like, you're slamming the door in a customer's face. Well, sometimes that's just what's going to get you through the day. And it's not slamming the door. It's basically saying, nope, try again, or just go find it elsewhere. And I would say 50% of the time I decline offers. I decline pretty much every offer that's less than 50% that's sent my way. And 50% of the time I decline offers, they almost always come back, or half of them come back and offer me more. So it's kind of like countering. Now, some people say you need more activity on your account, being active on the app, by countering is giving activity. And I've heard all of the stuff. I don't care. There's something very enjoyable about declining offers. To me, that person needs to know that, no, I'm not even going to negotiate with you because you're not at a good starting place for me. We're not going to meet in the middle. And I've seen some people post that they have seen people that like come back and they'll go from like $5 offer on a $100 item and they'll eventually get up to $70. But to me, you're just wasting my time. And I'm not going to, if you want to come back with a more reasonable offer, we can talk. I will counter or I will accept. But I already accept. I'm pretty generous with my accepting. I never counter anything less than 30% off my asking price. Does that make sense? So if someone sends me an offer of $70 and I have it listed for $100, I will always accept that offer. It gets a little bit different when it's less than that because it depends on how long has this been listed. Did I price appropriately? How many are there out there? But I've never declined an offer that's less than 30% off my asking price. Never. Some people counter if someone sends them a 20% off offer. I can't even imagine. Like, to me, that's a reasonable offer. Maybe you should just start your pricing higher if you don't think that's a good offer. But everyone to teach their own, like whatever you want to do, whatever you think is best for your business, or like, it doesn't even always have to be what's best for your business. Maybe you are super part-time and you're willing to hold out for something, so be it, But I don't think declining offers is a black and white thing. I think if you find some joy in declining an offer because it's so lowball, so be it. Again, most of the time, half the time, they come back and they offer me more. And yeah, so, but again, if you counter, that might be good for you. And if you can do it, I'm sure there's no harm to countering either. I just don't really want to waste my time with the back and forth if I can. All right, where are we at? We have 8 minutes left until break. And we'll check out. Is Luna in here? I don't know where Luna is, but we'll hang out with Luna in a little bit. Am I still recording? So let's see. Goals. Oh, this is it. Yeah. Goal that your goal should be to always triple your cost of goods. So I 100% disagree with this blanket statement, because if you buy all of your stuff and it's $1 an item, then you're saying that you should at least make $3 profit on each item. No, I think that's no. Do I think that if you buy an item for $100 and you want to flip it and you only flip it for $110 and you make like $3 profit, I don't think that's great either. I think it's just look at your own numbers. Don't compare them to anyone else. See how long it takes you to do certain things. Maybe run a little test and time yourself doing certain things and figure out, is that worth your time listing? And are you making a profit? Some people are buying stuff at $5 a pop and only flipping them for $15 a pop, and that works for them and they're happy with it. So be it. And if they're selling it for $15 a pop and they're paying $5, they're not tripling their cost of goods, but they're making a profit. So, to each their own. But again, those blanket statements, not great. Unfollow from me. Shopping only by brands. This is only one factor that goes into them. So I agree and disagree. There are some times that I will pick up brands and I'm like, the style does not matter. I know this brand so well that it will sell, and I pick it up. And there are times that there are brands that are no-name brands that I do pick up for style, and the brand name doesn't matter. So I think it does depend. But on average, I will say brand is the first thing I look for. That's where I'm going quickly through racks, or quickly when I'm looking in bins, I'm looking for the brand. And if it's a brand that I've sold before, I've had decent luck, or I look it up and I'm like, okay, this is a decent brand, there's higher odds that I am going to pick that up because it's a brand that I know, or I can tell by comps that it might be worth picking up. It's very rare for me to pick up based off of style, but I agree with what they're saying. It doesn't just matter. Like, you don't necessarily just want to pick something up because it's a good brand. If it's in terrible condition and maybe the style is 30 years old and it's not a good vintage piece, So brand is where I start almost always. And then I look at some of the other factors like condition and also price. Like, it might be a great brand. It might be a brand you've never found, but if they're asking $20 for it and it's only going to sell for $30, but you're excited because it's a new brand for you, that's probably not the best pickup either. So price matters as well. So yeah. If you don't find something within 15 minutes, leave and don't go back to that thrift. I don't know who gave you this terrible advice, but that's terrible advice. I can't tell you, some of my favorite honey hole thrift stores, or even the bins, I have bad days and good days. If I didn't go back to them, I would miss out on the good days. So absolutely terrible advice. Now, if you're in a hurry and there's 5 other thrift stores within a mile radius, maybe that's your strategy. Maybe that works for you, is just give it 15 minutes and go to another one. But to each their own. But I don't think you should never go back to that place. That's just terrible advice. Sometimes I wonder who says this stuff because it's just not good. This is one that I do remember when I was a new reseller. I heard someone say this, and this is terrible advice. Don't put the color in the description because someone could say it's wrong if it looks different to them. I mean, let's say it's a maroon item and it's kind of a red shade. I might put in the description, this is a red shade. It's closer to a maroon color, but then I select red as the color. There are times where I clarify a little bit, but no, people like me, I'm not going to buy a yellow item. Well, no, I buy yellow. I'm not going to buy a pink item more than likely, personally. So I might search. Maybe I'm looking only for green items. If you don't have that color chosen, you might not get me as the buyer who's filtering by color. And also, just be clear in your listing if you need to clarify. But if it's red, it's red. If it's yellow, it's yellow. They're different shades. Most of us, I've never had a problem with that. I've never had anyone in 6,000 items sold, 7,000, I think I'm at 7,000, somewhere around there, items sold. I've never had anyone come back to me and say the color didn't match. So I did have someone say they thought it was a slightly different shade of a color, but they didn't say that the whole color was out, like, wrong. It was just a shade issue. Like, they thought it was going to be a different color of green or whatever. But yeah, I always add the color 100%. Why spend so much time saying what's wrong with it? Just sell it and see if they say anything. Did someone seriously get this advice? If so, who? Who did you hear that from? That is terrible. Disclose things. Have you ever bought anything and you've been disappointed? Disclose things. If you don't see something and you're human and you make a mistake, that's totally different. We've all been there. If you see something, say something. Say something in the description. That's terrible advice. Don't spend time saying what's wrong with it. Just sell it and see if they say anything. Terrible, terrible. There are some terrible resellers out there. Try not to be one of them. That's terrible advice. All right. To niche down. That I've heard this a couple times where people say, like, oh, the worst advice I got was that you need to niche down. Now, for me personally, I'm fairly niched into women's clothing, but I would say 15% of what I sell is men's clothing. I pick up an occasional kid item every once in a while, and I pick up an occasional hard good every once in a while. The downside for me is that if I am selling mostly women's clothing, my listing is typically quicker and I become more familiar with it. But it doesn't mean I'm not always learning and not afraid to pick up other things. But for me, it does help to just kind of be looking in one section, and, you know, that works for me. But I don't think you should just not sell something. I don't know why people have different stores for different things or different closets for different things. I've never understood that. But if that's what you want to do, so be it. You have the right to run your own business. To only focus on one platform, I've said this time and time again. Minimum, I think 2 platforms, especially if this is a big part of your income and you're dependent on it, because a platform could just kick you off at any point because you did something wrong, or a platform could be having really bad sales one month because they're messing with algorithms. Do you know who I'm talking about in these cases? So I personally feel more comfortable with at least 2. I don't think I could go more than 3, but that's just me. If you have a way to make that work, you know, that's awesome. If it works for you. I'm running out of time. So 55 seconds. Only sell new tag items. If that's what you want to do, but I mean, that's never what I would recommend to anyone. That jeans ship first class. Some jeans can ship right about that pound mark, but they're really tiny jeans. Most jeans for me are over a pound and not first class. To only buy trendy items, this person doesn't sell the classics. I don't agree with this, but if you are only wanting to, like, style your closet or style your store and that makes you happy, you do you, but that's not a requirement. I don't think that's great advice. I don't buy off of trends most of the time. Someone said to join a Facebook group. They're here to help you. Never joined a Facebook group. Can't speak on them. I've heard terrible things. I wouldn't recommend them. And the last one is to buy cute poly mailers. And I am running out of time. But I will just finish this one up. I follow one of my favorite people on YouTube is Ginger Marvin. And they buy cute poly mailers. And they get so excited about it. And I'm so happy for them. I've never bought cute poly mailers. It's not a requirement. If it makes you happy and you think it's going to make someone else happy, so be it. It's not going to be that much cost for you if you find the right person that sells them or company that sells them. I do not think it's a requirement, and every time I've gotten a cute poly mailer, it has not made my experience any better or worse. I'm more focused on the inside, the item that I purchased. So I don't think you should or shouldn't, but if it makes you happy and brings you joy, you go for it. Those palm trees and coconut poly mailers are fun on Instagram, at least. So on that note, I am going to take a break, go outside with the dog where there's a breeze, and I only have a few more things to ship, which I'll do after, but let's go take a break. You come up to say hi? Okay, you're not. All right, so personal. First off, I wanted to thank someone without naming them. Those are some pipes that need to be painted from when my house was repiped. It's great. It's a really great background with my whatever. So someone sent me, I've gotten, some Christmas cards, and I did get a couple sympathy cards when my dad passed, and occasionally someone will send, a card for something. But last week I got a really beautiful handwritten note, and the person did not want me to acknowledge them. So I'm just going to say to this person, if you were watching, thank you so much for the sweet note and the generosity in the note. It was, you have beautiful handwriting, and it was just a really nice message to read, and it brightened my day. So I wanted to first say that. Second, I am so excited. I get to go on a vacation for the first time, I think, since I've been a reseller. Now, it's not anything crazy, and I will share some stuff on my Instagram, and I may share a little bit in, I might do some thrifting near there, and I might do Thrift with Me and include a little bit of where I stay and some of that stuff. So stay tuned for that. But basically I get to go away for a week, and the dog is going to be with the dog sitter. I don't think I've ever really taken more than a couple days off from the dog since I've had her. And it should be beautiful. It should be nice weather. And it'll be interesting to hang out with this mix of people. So anyways, I'm looking forward to that. That's going to be in a few weeks. And I'm working hard right now just so I can kind of get to that point where I'm like, okay, I can really take the time off. Also, do you see let me just describe the whole side of this house. I had my house painted. No, I had something moved. My washer dryer moved. And so I have two, an old and a new, and because I had already painted my house there, whatever. It's a hot mess over here. It's in progress, but whatever. So I'm excited for vacation. I will probably share some things in my Instagram stories, which that's linked below in case you're not following me there. And I will, like I said, probably at least have one video where I will thrift there and then include a little footage of where I'm staying and all of that fun jazz. But it's going to be a really nice break for me. And on that note, I messaged the dog sitter, and she's been great so far. And so I sent her hey, I'm going to be gone for a week. Are you available? And, just a heads up, she's never been away from me for this long. So yeah. And I have dog sitted for other people where they're gone and they just get grumpy, and they get they start missing their human, but this dog sitter is really great. So I'm sure she's going to have a great time. Is that a bee? I like bees. I just don't want bees near me. Okay. It just flew off. But yeah, I think she's going to have attention, which she likes, the dog. And, I think it's good for her and I to have an occasional break. So that is soon. And what else? I need to film another real estate video, and it's a Q&A. So I've got to kind of compile a bunch of questions, and then there's a couple questions I need to find out the answer. And so I'm just, I'm not hesitating. I need to sit down and compile my notes to do that. But hopefully I can get that done in the next week. Because I think it will be a helpful video. It's, answering people's questions on Tehachapi, where I live. So that's on my to-do list. I am possibly stopping by my real estate office today to go talk to my broker. I haven't checked in with him in a while in person. So if I've got to go to the post office, I may as well just swing by and say hello if he's there. But as of right now, I did get a couple more people reach out. One is interested in land. They've shared a lot that's available, and they wanted to know some things around certain codes. And so I tried to get information anyways. And then someone else reached out. I can't remember who. They were from LA. Oh, they want to buy a second home, a cabin up here. Very low price point for this area. I think it was $200 to $250, which is really hard to find up here, but not impossible. So, and they seem to be patient. So anyways, I've had a couple new people reach out in the last couple weeks for real estate. So, and that's kind of just how it is. Fortunately for me, I'm not spending much time on it outside of just making some videos and then responding to people that reach out. And it's kind of just the perfect amount of work for me right now. I am trying to figure out a car camping trip. I was thinking about going this weekend, but then when I realized I'm going on vacation in a few weeks, I was like, well, I still have a couple car camping vlogs. So I've got 2 car camping vlogs for my last trip with my friend Lauren. One is just our vlog of our weekend, and then one will be me showing her her Prius and how she camps in it, the car camps in it. So she was kind enough to let me film her do like a walkthrough. And I don't typically do those on my channel, but I find them interesting to watch. So I'm hoping to get one of those up this weekend. This weekend from when I'm filming this, probably the weekend before when you're watching this. But yeah, so hopefully City Girl Unplugged has another video up. And hopefully when I get back from this vacation, a couple weeks later, I'll be able to go car camping and get some more footage of another trip. But it kind of just depends on fires and weather. So it might be like a beach trip. I'm not sure. Figuring it out. But, so really sad story. One of my yoga friends, she had, one of her goats was attacked by a bear 2 nights ago, and they took the goat to a veterinarian, and they kept the goat overnight, and the goat didn't make it. So now she's got one goat at home that's missing its friend, and she's pretty traumatized. She moved here from LA, and I guess, I mean, yeah. So they did talk to Fish and Wildlife, which is kind of what you do when you encounter wildlife here. You call them, and either they have to come out because there's a situation, or they give you advice on, you know, whatever your situation is. But yeah, bears have been way more active where I'm at and where she's at, which is a different community not far from here. And so just sad. It's just sad that like that is just part of life up here, and it's part of like Mother Nature, you know. But the bear, that was her first bear experience, and I mean, unfortunately she lost a goat, and their goats are like, you know, almost pets. So that's like me losing a Luna, which, I mean, that could happen. Luna gets a little aggressive with some of the wildlife at times, and if she gets into a pickle, some of these wild animals could, you know, easily kill her. Not that I want that to happen, but that's kind of what happens when you have pets in places like this. But anyways, I'm sad for my friend, but yeah. Speaking of yoga, my yoga studio is doing yoga teacher training. And since 2 of my friends are teachers there and one is probably going to do the teacher training, it's been something that we've been talking about quite a bit. And they're like, Courtney, you should do it. I'm like, I cannot. I like, it's $1,500 or $1,600. And it's one weekend every month for 6 months or something. It's like 200 hours of teacher training. And some yoga trainings are more than that. But anyways, am I like drooling on myself? What do I feel like I'm... Anyway, so I basically told them, like, I see myself doing yoga teacher training at some point in my life when maybe I have some more time. And I would love to, you know, go through it, if anything, just to improve my own practice. But it's pricey, and it's also very time consuming. And it would be with my friends, which is like the one downside, you know, it would be with my friends. But at the same time, I need to get real estate, you know, keep doing that. I just don't have any excess time. And the extra time that I have right now, I want to spend not working. And I feel like that would just be one more thing of work that would just overwhelm me. So I'm not doing it, but I will do it eventually. Like, I could see myself, you know, doing it in 5 years and just having that as a way for me to just have something different, you know, because I get bored. So yeah, but it's going to be kind of a bummer if they're all doing it. Like 2 of them are teaching and 1 of them's taking it. And then we hang out and they're talking about it. I'm like, I'm going to have a little bit of FOMO, but it's fine. I'll still be going to classes with them. So this weekend we have something, which when you're watching this, it will be the last weekend, but we have something called Mountain Festival. All my friends are going. I'm not going. Partly because it's outside. It's a warm weekend. And it's just a large crowd. Yeah. So it is, I mean, I do like the events that we have in my community, but I also I don't want to go out all the time. And so I'm not going. But there is an Apple Festival in like a month. I might go to that. My friends went to something called Cheers to Charity a couple weeks ago or a week ago, and they had a lot of fun with that. But I also don't live, the part of the problem is we don't have Ubers or Lyfts here, and I live 30 minutes from town. So if I wanted to enjoy some wine at some of these events, like I don't have an easy way to get home. So that's also a part of it. Like if I don't have someone in my community going with me where they're like designated driver, then like Cheers to Charity is all about like you're paying for a ticket pretty pricey. I can't remember what it was, like $60 or something. And then they have a VIP for like 100 or something. But that goes to local charities, but it's also like it gives you a certain amount of drink tickets. And then there's food booths and stuff like that. And so that's the hard thing about living here that I miss about living in the city is like, it's not easy to go to some of these things because then you don't have an easy way, a safe way of getting home. But we'll see on the Apple Festival. We will see. I'm not putting money on it right now because I might be out car camping or something. But I know this seems like really early and unnecessary, but I am like already starting to stress about Christmas gifts. I have 2 nieces and I just like I don't like getting like generic things. And so I like putting thought into gifts. And a lot of times like throughout the year, I'll see something and I'll be like, oh, that's good for Christmas. And I'll get it early. But I mean, we're creeping up on fall and I don't like waiting until the last minute for gifts. And so I'm trying to think of like, what would be fun for some 2 teenage girls, early teenage girls. And I just don't know that. Like, and I know I could ask them. And sometimes you just get them gift cards because that's really, but then it's like, sometimes it's just fun to get them something. They don't like thrifted stuff. So it's not like I would, like none of my family, so my mom likes that, likes to thrift and likes pre-owned stuff. But yeah, I'm just like, I'm already starting to think of like, what should I get people for Christmas? You know, sisters, brother-in-law, mom. Luna doesn't really get anything. She gets stuff occasionally from my family. They'll get her like some treats and some toys and stuff, but I don't really get her anything. Right, dog? Because you just don't care. You just want chicken. Oh, I'm sorry. Should I give you a piece of chicken now that I said that? Yeah, so if you guys have any suggestions on what early teenage girls, what's fun, and or brother-in-law or sisters, you know, like any cool gifts that you have recommendations on, leave them below. If you're still here, which, you know, we're creeping up on the end of this little personal chatty work with me part. And then recently I had a delivery to my home address. So we don't have mail or trash pickup where we live, but like you go into central trash to take your trash, or your mailboxes. Like my mailbox is 1.5 miles from me, but you know, like those silver, whatever. I know you guys know what I'm talking about, but there's a name for it. Anyways, so I check my mail like once or twice a week there, and these hawks have been sounding like seagulls recently. If I could show you this hawk that's flying, but they've been so noisy. I don't know if you can hear it. It's hunting right now, because you can see when they hunt, they like kind of float in a certain area and they just kind of hover, and then you see them like dive. The hawks are really interesting to watch, but they're not as noisy. Usually the crows are really noisy, but the hawks are kind of chill. These ones have been very noisy this week. Anyways, so I checked my mail a couple weeks ago and there was a package and it was full of liquid IV. So I've gotten that for free at Walmart. Like sometimes when you do a Walmart pickup, they'll give you like a free thing or two. And I really like it. It's like an electrolyte drink. I'm not sponsored. I'm not recommending them. But I have tried it and liked it. And I got this whole box of like 4 big packages of it. And it was to my name and it was to my home address. And I'm thinking, what in the world? Like, so I asked my mom, hey mom, did you by chance order me a whole bunch of liquid IV? And then I asked my friend Lauren, because I was just talking about that with her when I was camping with her. And I thought that would be really strange, but like, how else? And then I reached out to the company and I was like, I did not order this. There's no invoice. So then they said, well, did you request any free samples? I was like, this is 4 giant packages. Like, this is not a free sample. This is like a huge order. And they're not cheap. Like a package like that is like $15 a pop. So basically it's like a $60 box of product. And so anyways, I responded back. I said, no, I didn't request a sample. Yes, they asked if I had any social media, and I said, yes, I do have a YouTube channel, but my company, management company uses my business address, not my home address. Anyways, it was really like creeping me out. Like, did someone order me something? Also, this is to my home address. It was just very weird. I still don't know. I still don't know where it came from, but that was a weird moment in my last couple weeks. But I'm enjoying it. I do like them because there's like a salty flavor to it. But yeah, it's just very weird. I mean, I don't mind free stuff, but I also I want to know where free stuff is coming from, you know? Anyways, Bougie, do you want to come up and say goodbye? Come up. Up. Good girl. Good girl. Do you want to say goodbye? Come up. I know. You don't want to say goodbye. You just want the pieces of chicken, right? I know, my good dog. We will go to the PARK later, okay? Anyways, that's it. That's my rambly, chatty work with me. Shout out to Care Of for sponsoring this video. Be sure to check them out. I'm so excited to be using them again. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.